All right, Battletech enthusiasts, we're jumping in with the Blackjack, one of my favorite mechs, making our way through the light mechs, and we are starting now to make our way through and past that awkward tonnage. The last couple of Battletech vlogs that I pushed up exploring medium mechs, and we're literally going by the book, looking tonnage by tonnage. When you make that crossover from light heavy mech to light medium mech, that kind of 40-ton area, is it a light mech? Is it a medium mech? Well, that 5 additional tons when we jump into the Blackjack, weighing in at 45 tons, I feel like an announcer here. Now we're starting to have a little bit something to play with to make an effective medium mech. Once we mount in the internals and the systems, and we have redundancy in the weapon systems, we've got a little bit of bite. That said, the Blackjack is still kind of on the light side, the lighter side, and being a fire support mech, this has a little bit of a challenge. Now, I define a fire support mech, the classic fire support. You look at a Jaeger mech, you look at a longbow, potentially an archer, where you have multiple redundancy, multiple long-range weapons, and for the most part, these are heavier autocannons or autocannons and large lasers with like the rifleman, or LRM 20 packs with all of their missiles, pushing that forward. You need some good bite. You need some good tonnage because these weapon systems are hefty. They have tonnage. You can still do it in a medium mech. The Blackjack does it, but target priority becomes very, very important, where as we move into the heavies and the assaults fire support mechs, you've got enough tonnage, you can bring those big guns to bear on absolutely everything. So the first Tactica, and this is one of my favorite mechs because the battle value buy-in I find is reasonable, and in medium to lower battle value games, or battle value games where you're going to start combining light arms or combined arms. So we've got a couple of hovercraft, we've got a couple of tanks. The Blackjack, in my opinion, really brings a lot to the table. The first thing we're going to start with is the Autocannon 2s. One of the longest range weapons. Damage is a little bit beefed up more than a machine gun. It's very, very light, the 2 points there. But the ability to reach out that far and generate no heat, which means as soon as you are in range, you are shooting. And you're going to have significant range. This combined with the Blackjack's ability to walk, run, and jump pretty much allows you to hit anything on the hex map before it can hit you. This is interesting for 2 reasons. First of all, you want to find out someone's plans. I've got my mechs moving up. I've got some vehicles on the side. I'm advancing some infantry. You kind of want to get an idea of what I'm doing. What's important, start firing on stuff. Right? Start firing on stuff. Everyone's got a plan until they start taking those hits. You're going to find out what I'm going to commit with and what I'm going to not commit with. So that, I love the Blackjack for. It's just in range, it starts shooting. Second, range is good. This is Battletech. You never know. You roll the dice. You get the lucky headshot. Pilot, mech warrior, fails consciousness check, goes night-night, misses a turn. I've had it happen, fails consciousness again, still night-night, and taking that nap on the battlefield. Highly, highly unlikely. We're not going to plan for it. I'm not going to count on it, but you roll enough dice, it's going to happen. So if I have that long range, it can potentially happen. So we've got that going with the Autocannon 2s. And then finally, where it really shines, against vehicles. Vehicles, generally speaking, are very vulnerable to motive hits. Now, motive hits are when you start taking damage and it represents you're chewing up the tracks, the tires, you're jamming stuff, metal, plasteel is bending, things like that in the narrative. It slows down their movement significantly. Mechs, and this is one of the powerful abilities of mechs, their configurations, they don't take motive hits. You really don't start getting slowed down until your leg gets blown off, or you go to internals and you take some damage to that leg in various ways. So as soon as we can start putting motive hits on mechs from hits, that's great. Hull down, they are somewhat protected. Side shots, they're extremely vulnerable. Side note, without going off on too much of a tangent, this is why warrior attack helicopters are amazing. because they have the autocannon range, they have the other range, and you have the speed to get side hits. They just side strafe on everything with vehicles, pushing those motive hits. But back to the Blackjack. Blackjack works great in lower battle value combined arms where you might have a Bulldog light tank or two, medium tank or a couple of units, to start just chewing up some motive hits. And now that messes with the timing of the combined arms of your opponent, because now those tanks, if they lose a couple of hexes of movement, they start falling back. Do you continue to advance the lance and leave the tanks behind, dividing your battle value, dividing up your volume of dice that you can shoot? Or do you slow down so everybody can keep up, but then your opponent has the high ground advantage of possibly getting to key terrain or key mission features before you do, all for the battle value? So we jump in with that. But the Blackjack's also got some bite. It's got the medium lasers. It's got the 4 medium lasers that it's going to blast away with when things get really, really close. That's kind of like Jenner-ish Alpha Strike. 4 medium lasers on a medium mech, that's bite. That's good. I like that. Plus the autocannon 2s. What it doesn't have is the heat sinks to do it. We're clocking in at 11, which is not much of a difference than 10. I guess there was a couple of extra internals, and we'll slap on another heat sink. But from that perspective, with the autocannons, it's not a problem at all. It's absolutely not a problem. You just fire every single turn. When you get to the medium lasers, you have to watch your movement. Fire 1, maybe 2, build heat, discharge heat, fire 1. Don't move, build heat, discharge heat. You got to stay on top of it because you don't want to get caught not being able to move. This is one of the vulnerabilities of medium mechs, especially when we're at kind of the lower tonnage, which the Blackjack is pulling away from, but it still is. There are going to be times where you need to get the heck out of there. You just don't have the armor. So not even shutting down, building heat to where it affects movement, that's big. And not that the Blackjack is slow. It also has the jump capability. That's huge too, to be able to jump and deal with that. But we do want to kind of watch the heat. So I see it as an excellent low battle value, easy buy-in, long reach support mech. You're just going to start shooting right away. Then you're going to switch out to those medium lasers. You've got the 4 of them. You could potentially alpha strike. You could potentially, if the target is there and you want to fire everything off, you can. You've got good speed. You've got good run. You've got good walk. And you have jump capability. So a solid, in my opinion, very, very solid entry into medium mechs.